If someone asks me where I come from, I always struggle with that question. If I look at my passport, it says I'm Dutch, I come from the Netherlands. But that's not really how I feel. I was born in Suriname. I lived there for 3 years. I moved to Malaysia. I lived there for 5 years. Then I went to the Netherlands. My parents are Dutch. Now I'm living in Switzerland. This is my home. But this is not really part of my identity. My identity is not based on where I live. And I'm not alone. There are many more people, more and more people actually, that feel less patriotism. Not everywhere around the world. Still there are wars about patriotism. But more and more, our nation is less relevant for us. Does that mean we are lonely individuals traveling around the world, doing our own stuff? No, it's not. We still have a need to be part of a community. But it's no longer the nation that is at the core of our community. It's something else. So my name is Ernst Verloop. Together with Moses Kimani, we will tell you everything about imagined communities.
Thank you. Thank you. So, endowed with speech and intelligence, human beings form the basis from which we live in societies. As human beings, we all need to live in societies in order to be able to survive, in order to be able to bond, and for us to have thriving societies. So imagined communities, by contrast, are not based on physical interaction, but rather on shared interests. Benedict Anderson, in his work Imagined Communities, published in 1983, introduces this concept of imagined communities, where he proposes that human societies have evolved from being based on very basic requirements for survival to more advanced nations, societies of shared interests. What we do in this presentation, we advance some of his ideas and relate them to the present day to show you how you can relate them to your business and to your specific industry. We begin by looking at an individual example.
Yeah, so before we can go into the business part of this, we have to understand what lies behind us. And there we start with my grandmother. Her identity was based on her family, the church she went to, and also in part her education and her work. But there was something that was more important, and that was the area she came from, because that determined everything around her. If when I look at myself, it's still work, it's still education, a fantastic MBA, that's part of my identity. Origin, much less. What's much more important for me is my interest. Now this is the part where the business relevance comes. So, as I explained, people still have the need to be part of a community. It used to be the nation that is becoming less relevant. Businesses can apply an alternative, a much more attractive alternative, and create value out of that. So let's dive a bit deeper and try to really understand what makes a community.
Okay. So now, as a business looking to profit or looking to leverage these communities, we need to understand what is the fabric of this community. And we see that, to begin with, they're based on shared interest, beliefs, and opinions. And they comprise of 3 pillars. The first being a need to join this community. Second, being a platform through which to engage with this community. And finally, participation, how we interact with this community. And this is what comprises our imagined community. So looking at each of this, the needs. The type of community we join depends on the needs experienced at a particular point in time. For those with basic needs will join a very different community than those who have a need to socialize or form friendships, and who in turn will join a very different society to those who are seeking for more aspirational or self-expression communities. Next, we look at the platform. This enables us to participate with the community and comprises of infrastructure, which could be physical or virtual, comprises of technology that enables us to interact with members of the community, and this could be from the telephone to the social media, and the network, an enabler that enables us to interact with other members of the community, and an example that we give here is language. So finally, participation is important for community to thrive. To begin, once we've identified a need to join a community, and once we've seen that we want to we have a platform through which to engage with this community, we need to decide whether or not to take part in this community. Right. Several factors influence this decision. Are we aware that this community exists? What is the culture associated with this community? And is there a stigma with joining this community? And once we decide to join this community, we realize what is our level of participation going to be? Are we going to participate with a high level of involvement as an organizer of this community, as an active contributor? Or are we going to have a low level of participation? Are we going to join this community as a silent contributor or as an information taker? And now we'll look at an example of how a business has taken this concept of community and created an opportunity for itself.
Yeah, so let's start with an individual, person A in this case. Person A has specific needs. In itself, person A is, to us, it's not very relevant. There's another person B, also with specific needs, and they have some joint needs. So potentially, they are motivated to form a community based around their joint needs, but they are lacking a platform at this point. If now a business comes in and provides this platform, and when these two individuals decide to join in this platform, there is a potential for value. Let's look at a real example. Strava. Who is familiar with Strava? Not so many hands, okay. You're going to discover something very interesting, especially for the individuals here that likes to do sports. This is created around the need for people to do sports, but in their own time, or alone. And not necessarily because they want to do sports alone, but it's difficult for them to align their schedule with their friends to do sports with. So they want to do sports, they want to communicate about the sport they do, about their achievements. And there's quite a large group of these individuals around the world. Strava identified this need, and they created a platform for these individuals to share their experience. It's an online platform together with a mobile app which you can install on your iPhone. Now, if you go out running, with GPS tracking, you log your run, the route you took. You measure the speed, you can even measure your heart rate, lots of information. You share this online, in that way you communicate with others. Now you can also compete virtually, because others do the same round, not at the same time, but later or earlier in the day, and you can compete with each other, you can motivate each other. And this motivation and this competition, that drives people to participate in this platform. Now let's look at the value in here. So we started with a bunch of individuals, and each of those individuals had little monetary value for us. Now we've been able to reach them and to group them. So basically we've increased our access to this group. By providing a platform, we created access to them. The next step is we provided a premium membership for which people are paying. They get advanced analytics features of how their run was and how good they were doing. And there's another angle which I find very interesting. Strava is now working together for a fee, of course, with urban planners, because they know where people are running, they know where people are cycling. Together with these urban planners, they optimize the cycling and the running areas in cities. So 2 revenue streams out of a community they created. But it's not very easy, and now Moses, please be the devil's advocate and show us the challenges.
Yeah, thank you. So we've seen how Strava uses this example of communities to create new opportunities. However, there are challenges in using communities in your business. To begin with, they're difficult to identify. How do we come across these new groups? But at the same time, this is a wonderful opportunity, because once we identify these groups, we maintain a competitive advantage for the long term. These communities have a very flat structure and there's lack of control. And for a company, this presents a risk, but also a big opportunity, because we can actually engage with these communities with less barriers. We can participate in these new communities. They're rapidly changing. We saw the needs, the platform, and the participation. But this also presents an opportunity for us to co-create value with members of the community. Regulation and compliance could be fuzzy, could be defined, but because it's also rapidly changing, this presents us an opportunity to set the standard once we identify these communities and leverage them. So as we look at taking advantage of these communities to create new opportunities, there are various aspects we need to consider. Our strategy should be very well defined, and our approach should be very clearly targeted in terms of how do we access these communities, what actions do we take, and what will be the likely reaction of the members of this community. So in summary, we need to be very clear about what we stand for, what the community stands for, and the value that we want to derive out of participating in this particular community. So we look at various tools, and you might be asking yourself, how can I apply this to my particular industry? How does this apply to my business today? In this afternoon's workshop, we'll look at various tools that allow you to look at ways to optimize the value for these communities. And we'd like to invite you at the workshop, at the details which will be in your handouts and on the screen later, where we'll engage with you and apply this tool systematically to your particular industry, to your business. And I look forward to engage with you at this workshop on behalf of all the team that is running this workshop, to have a very participatory and lively dialogue around this topic. So thank you very much, and I look forward to engage with you at the times on your screen.